everyone, and thank you very much for the tuning into the Cloud Native FM podcast. I lost sleep for a week wondering why some of you love Kubernetes and many of you hate Kubernetes. Why some of us only care about Kubernetes and many of us don't even want to talk about it. Short answer to all of this, I could go wrong here. We love Kubernetes feature, but not Kubernetes in itself. Might be because of its current form and the way it is presented to us. So I try to present some of my thoughts in this podcast with a guest from the management layer. They work in the customers and they actually enabled us to use Kubernetes with some of the click ops approach. So I had stayed go to one of my guests who joined me and who tell me why in 2025 we're heading towards where people want to abstract Kubernetes totally away from us and we just want to deploy app and spend most time on our business logic. So over to you, Taylor Deakyne, from Vice President and Sales on TaikunCloud. Over to you. Give us a quick intro and tell us where you are busy these days.
Sam, I appreciate you having me on the show here to come and talk about this fascinating topic here in 2025, and for lots of engineers and software developers and DevOps folks, it's a huge part of their daily life and daily existence, right? Platform owners and so on. So yeah, here we are in 2025, and yeah, the cloud native train just keeps on rolling, and there seems to be no stopping it. I mean, we just seem to go from kind of strength to strength. The ecosystem is just continue to grow, and every day I turn around, I just something new's happening. And it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive. It's an exciting time to be alive. But one of the things that struck me when I came into the kind of cloud data world about 5-6 years ago is that it's expansive. It's huge. It's such a big ecosystem. The length and breadth of it is massive, right? And as you kind of rightly pointed out, right? There's a lot of people that fell in love with Kubernetes, when Google released it into the world, right? They fell in love with its capabilities, what it stood for, what its potential was, right? And what they quickly found out, was that this was a beast that had to be tamed. Yeah, there was a lot of benefits, especially as you scale, but there were a lot of pitfalls and downfalls as well. And and then when it comes to the people element, there's so much difference. There's so much difference and differences between, depending on how much experience one engineer has with Kubernetes. Some, know it inside and out and back of their hand, have been through the ringer, have made all the mistakes, and have come out the other side and figured out how to contain the beast, right? But then there's lots of other people that are at the beginning of their journey, right, and are just starting out and going, and not wanting to make all the same mistakes again, but still having to go out there and find their way in the wild, right? And at the end of the day, Kubernetes was never the point. It was always the means to an end, and that's actually deliver containerized microservices based applications at scale. And it's quickly become this default middleware layer in the cloud ecosystem, where people are able to consume it both in the public cloud, both in private clouds. And then suddenly one day you got one cluster, and the next day you wake up and you got 100 clusters, and those 100 clusters are distributed, across private, public cloud environments. and this technology, which has been was promised to us, it's going to make these cloud native dreams and ambitions come to life, has now become the kind of ogre in the room, right? That you've got to tackle, and you've got to make it submit, right, and make it work for the business. So more and more, what we're seeing, in the market, is that people want to care less and less about Kubernetes from an infrastructure perspective, and they want to care more and more about their business logic and getting their applications to market, and accelerating their software development life cycles. So CloudWorks, our product, our kind of Kubernetes management product, was kind of birthed about 3 years ago, and it was built with that number one goal in mind, is to help make Kubernetes invisible, help organizations harness the good parts and the powerful parts of Kubernetes, but to overcome the complexities that are inherently part of a very powerful orchestrator, which we've come to know and love, right? So that is our goal with CloudWorks. We want to really help engineers and organizations utilize Kubernetes, but to overcome the complexities of it and get to their outcomes faster, which is to deploy applications.
Absolutely, 100%. You made a very wonderful point. You made a very wonderful point, because this is currently happening. Everyone to see how actually Kubernetes become invisible to many of our developers. And I think the reason what I'm actually seeing is that, let's say if I am a Node.js developer, all I want is from a blinking cursor to a deployed app under a minute or less. Then you ask me to package my app inside a pod that's belong to the replica set, and that replica set should be under a deployment, and deployment has to be exposed internally via services and externally via ingress controller. And I need 3 CRDs to set up storage in Google account, and so your app should remain persistent using persistent volume claim. It's a very tough job for the developer. So I think usually the analogy I try to make it, Kubernetes is like, if you're having a car with garage attached to it all of the time. Now you have a very good flexibility. Like if your tire bursts, you go inside the garage, put up a new tires, fix it up. Yes, your problem solved. Let's say your radiator can catch fire, and you can go into the garage, you have a fire extinguisher, but soon you will be realizing you are carrying and carrying stuff you never need. So that's what people are thinking about Kubernetes. Yes, it's solving so much of my pain, but the management layer should be somebody else's job. And that's where the Taikun Cloud is we're talking about today. So Taylor, can you tell us a little bit about how the company actually started? You already hit some point on it already now, but let's talk about what's in 2025. Like, what is your main motivation, and what are some of the customer problem you actually experience from the last 2 years, and that is the top priority in 2025?
Absolutely. So, a little bit of background about Taikun. So, it's the founder and CEO is Adam Skotnicki. He's based out of Prague. So, he's a Czech founder, and a lot of engineering team is all based out of Prague. We've got a global distributed support engineering team across the globe. A lot of sales, commercial activity and teams are all based here out of the UK. It's been going since 2018. So that's when the company was founded. But the product really wasn't birthed till around 3-4 years ago. And once the idea was formulated and the initial blueprint of what the team wanted to build was kind of laid out, it was then we're able to hit the accelerator on the development path and bring the product out just under a year, actually. It was able to launch the first version, and then the team has been hard at work ever since then, just releasing 3-4 times a year, major new feature releases, new capabilities, kind of year on year since then. So coming into 2025, our focus has always been to get to this place where we can help organizations manage Kubernetes and cloud native apps anywhere. So whether it's a cluster created by our platform or it's in a cluster that's been created by an external platform like the EKSs, AKS, and GKEs, or even any other platform, we wanted to help customers provide that single pane of glass, that centralized management, bring everything together into one platform so that they could A, manage clusters, but B, deploy applications, and also with our latest edition of vCluster, achieve a next level of multi-tenancy. So coming into 2025 now, we have the ability to import any external generic Kubernetes cluster into CloudWorks. And then once that external cluster has been imported, we can then deploy virtual clusters on top of that and create that and treat that external cluster as like a parent cluster. And then be able to chop that up using virtual clusters and make it a multi-tenanted platform. And this is really powerful for test and development teams to be able to bring in, and platform teams to be able to bring in these clusters into a user-friendly environment that has the right access controls, the right user experience, a simplified user experience, and then to be able to turn that cluster into a multi-tenanted cluster, and then they can start to use our Helm management systems to then deploy their apps there. So it's got some really, really, really powerful capabilities. By the end of February, we're going to be enabling that same import capability for AWS's EKS, Google's GKE, and Azure's AKS. So you'll be able to bring those clusters, import those into our platform as well, and will enable actually quite a number of day two operational stuff, like you can be able to create node groups, remove node groups, set more permissions, do basic CRUD function, shall we say, on the cluster, deploy virtual clusters, because that's one of the biggest use cases that we're seeing with EKS and these public cloud managed services is that how do I take these can be quite expensive, master or parent clusters, right? How do I make them more cost efficient? How do I make them more available to my developers? And virtual clusters is a very powerful way to do that, and to be able to make those multi-tenanted without giving the keys to the kingdom, to folks that you definitely don't want to be doing that to. But then maintaining that abstraction, level where people can interact in a safe, secure way with the correct permissions and so on. So that's going to be really exciting at the end of February, that we're going to be able to bring in those external clusters in. So for the rest of 2025, we're going to be focusing mainly on incremental kind of user improvements. We have a big vision when it comes to incorporating the ecosystem and bringing more and more data, shall we say, into the platform. Our own data that we're also generating and calling from the APIs, but also external from external sources that may be performing various different functions on the clusters, and we want to expose various different data. Could be billing data, could be telemetry data, but we've got a big vision in 2025 to start building what we're calling widgets, shall we say, an approach to being able to build custom dashboards that users would be able to actually build their own widgets. So we would have a catalog of potential widgets that we would build to be able to expose various different data points, and be able to show them on a dashboard. But we also want to enable the community to build their own widgets and to bring their own data points into a dashboard format, so they can see, basically in a centralized single pane of glass, a lot of the data that they want to consume on a day-to-day basis, depending on what their role is. So this is really exciting, because we want this to be our platform to be connected to a lot of the other ecosystem tools and players out there that are performing, very valuable roles in terms of the life cycle of containers, the life cycle of Kubernetes, the life cycle of applications. There's lots of good stuff out there that we want to incorporate through this kind of approach via the widgets. So we're going to start that work in 2025. We're also going to be bringing in LiveOps. So we're going to start to stream live, shall we say, data from the actual clusters themselves, and enable users to interact with that live data in real time. So this is also something really exciting and highly requested from our user base. So those are a couple of things, to say a couple. Those are a lot of things that we got planned for 2025.
Yes, absolutely. And I do notice when you work in the Kubernetes layer or the Kubernetes ecosystem, you're always busy all the time, considering the amount of gigantic ecosystem is being developing on top of the Kubernetes and all of the opinionated approaches. But I heard very good things from your conversation. Number one, you're helping with your customer with a V-cluster kind of an approach, because right now in the industry, everybody have you have dev environment, you have production environment, you have staging environment. You need to set up different cluster for each of these environment. Why not I'm having a one environment, I can carve out different namespaces and put up, let's say, dev, staging, or production by in using a V cluster kind of approach. And you are actually giving a management layer, because if I'm actually a developer, I need to do some kind of V cluster capability. I need to do it myself. I need to learn it, how to do it effectively. But you are actually offloading me to this activity instead of me actually doing the hard work of doing a bell and whistle. Now you are giving the customer with the approach of build up vCluster kind of pipeline. And I see there's a CI/CD environment where vCluster is a very shiny approach. You have a cluster where spin up some instances, you can run and troubleshoot some issues, fire up an ephemeral environment. When you no longer need it, let's deploy it out. You don't need to have ideal resources or underutilized resources all the time. So that's a very neat feature. And also, as you mentioned, the live data capabilities, I think that is coming up from a lot of the different organizations. I will see how this develop up, and when it's actually landed, I will ask you again to join me. Tell me how it's actually happening and how all the bell and whistle actually been created under the hood, and people are actually using in their live issues. Now one of the question in what I see whenever we go everywhere, there's a Kubernetes layer, there's a management layer associated with it. Right now, I think we have unclear ownership with Kubernetes. We have lack of standardization. We have security concern, RBAC policies, network segmentation compliance. You need to do it all yourself. Then there's a cluster sprawl. And then you need to understand like this, we need to have not find up in a situation we have underutilized resources and the cost is going to be skyrocketing. So that's where we see some organization, some other sector is moving into the Kubernetes, and now they see these similar challenges. Every time a new customer hop into this, they end up finding themselves in this new category. If some of the customers is not in the management layer like EKS, AKS, GKE, but they're doing it themselves on on-prem environment, if they are using TaikunCloud tomorrow, what are the things or what are the benefit they actually been having by using or managing on-prem environment using TaikunCloud, and what are the different services available today? If not, if there are those planned in the near future.
Kubernetes on premise, right, presents its own set of challenges. And we see there's a lot of companies that have clear reasons why they want it on-prem as well. It's extremely expensive to run in the public cloud. And if you have the infrastructure already in place, in your own data centers, in your own environment, then it's really attractive to try to start there. But most of the time, it's not a cloud-like environment, right? You're responsible for the hardware, right? It's not like you're in the AWS console, right? And you can just spin up 1,000 instances like that, right? You actually need to do a fair bit of capacity planning and monitoring and so on. But there's very limited options, other than your standard DIY, roll your own, manage your own, go and make the tool choices to deal with kind of day one and day two ops. So everything you mentioned there, from security to deployment to observability, the whole shooting match, you're pretty much on your own. So, and depending on where you're at in the maturity scale on your journey and what access to experienced engineers, um, you're going to look potentially for solutions that can work with your on-prem environment, um, but then potentially can help you abstract you away from some of the complexities of running Kubernetes, because it's really easy to create a cluster, but maintaining it, monitoring it, securing it, providing access to it, those are all the challenges that everybody runs into. And on premise, you've got a few, the major vendors out there, but normally they're pretty unflexible in their approach, and they tend to try to lock you in. With their kind of proprietary approach. So how can you leverage your on-prem infrastructure, which we see a lot of folks wanting to do, but still maintain, shall we say, the portability aspect, that if I wanted to move these workloads to Amazon tomorrow, or if I want to move these workloads to Azure, right? That I have that capability, right? So that's one of the things that CloudWorks brings to the table. We work with about 5 private cloud vendors today. So everyone from OpenStack to VMware, to Proxmox. Um, these are the kind of major on-premise virtualization platforms, and we can also work with bare metal as well. Um, that would enable customers to use their existing on-prem infrastructure, but to be able to provide a PaaS-like managed Kubernetes experience to their platform engineers, but also to their developers, and to potentially give them all the benefits of Kubernetes without the complexity. So we can basically bring a public cloud-like experience to on-prem. And that is very attractive if the decision by the organization is, guys, we want to, if we can find the right solution, we want to keep it on-prem.
Absolutely. I think that's a great news to hear, because some companies having some trouble, as you rightly mentioned, they kind of move into the solution, but they end up having a vendor lock in the very small amount of time, and they don't want to do it. And I think that there's notion of going into the on-prem and having a public cloud-like experience is vital for the organization as well, because I think as the things evolve in the ecosystem, they do not find themselves stitched to the one solution and reapply the configuration to having new solution in their existing solution. So I think it's good to hear, and I think I will link some of your customer and the company profile in the YouTube description section, so people want to go check that out as well. So before I leave you off the conversation, right now in the industry, there's a platform engineering has created so much promises, so much excitement, and they actually people thinking right now there's the only way or to remove frustration for what's already we have set it up in organization is platform engineering. So with platform engineering, what is your actually been noticing or quite actively watching in this space? What is you think, what do you think, like what is your best wishes that platform engineering should have or people make more actively looking at these 2 3 areas that actually been resonated with your experience of communicating with customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Platform engineering is really, shall we say, taken off as a framework, or as a concept for engineering teams to kind of work to, and a set of guiding principles, shall we say, um, in terms of how they want to operate, on how they want to operate their teams, and how they want to operate their technologies, or what they want their technologies to deliver to their teams. And I think the we're seeing similar trends with our customers, in the sense that they want to standardize wherever possible. They want to create these repeatable workflows wherever they can. That in with the clear view of helping them scale, um, and helping them kind of bake the cake in a much more standardized way, and but at the same time allowing with a good degree of flexibility, uh, as well. So everybody thinks about PaaS in terms of being a highly opinionated approach, which, yeah, that, to be fair, that's a valid point. But there's also an opinionated approach. But then there's also, um, shall we say, an opinion approach, but with flexibility built in as well, and which is there really to create these golden paths, for engineers and developers to get to their outcome, because there's a million, in many ways, there is a million ways to skin the same cat, um, and yes, you could do it, 15 different ways. But if you've never done it those 15 different ways before, you don't know which one is the most efficient way of doing things, the one that's just going to work, the one that's going to cause you issues down the road. It looks good on paper, but it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. In reality, it's really hard, really difficult, and didn't give you what you wanted. What you wanted at the end. We're trying to remove a lot of the guesswork, shall we say, out of trying to provide these golden paths and this user autonomy, for devs and engineers, with providing a couple of paths, right? Providing with some opinion, a platform that does have opinions, that does make certain choices, and has certain defaults already laid out, but is actually absolutely, those are there as a baseline to actually build on or to further customize. A lot of PaaS platforms are black boxes where you're not allowed underneath the hood. You're not allowed to customize. And we've taken a completely different approach. We have said, yeah, we're going to follow the typical PaaS, opinionated approach. We're going to provide that as, call it option A. But option B is, okay, I like that part of your platform. I'll take that, and provide a more of an a la carte. You know, I'll have a bit of this and have a bit of that and have a bit of this, because that just works for my team. And or we've chosen to use this other observability product over here. Can we integrate that? Can we customize the distributions, the Kubernetes distributions that ship every single time? Can we customize the tool stack that gets automatically installed in every cluster? That ships from our team. Can we do these kind of lower level customizations? Absolutely. So we And if you're on kind of on that end of the spectrum, and which we call really the advanced end of the spectrum, and you want to do those customizations, we can enable those. What we can enable inside, shall we say, our already kind of curated, powerful automation engine. So, because at the end of the day, whatever that recipe is that you're building, normally you're on your own to maintain it and support it. And so, whereas we take the alternative approach that we actually want to help our customers maintain and support that tool chain. So that's the thing. That's a big of the workload that we offload off of users is actually maintaining that tool chain and supporting that tool chain. So yeah, I can see a lot of interesting stuff happening in this space as we evolve, right? And we cater for different types of users, both advanced and both just starting their journey. But it's an exciting time to be alive, and I'm really excited to be in this space.
Because I think if we're way back in the days, like we have so much trouble in the having setting up a self-healing solution in the production environment, Kubernetes make it a very easier when it's running, but it's come up with a steep learning curve. It have multiple abstraction. It has cluster administration challenges, setting up, upgrading, and maintaining. Then we have unclear ownership, then the lack of standardization, security concern, cluster sprawl, and I think one of the major challenges that I see is a hidden cost and resource wastage. Our provisioning resources, lack of visibility, and inefficient workload. Yes, we have these challenges, and I think platform engineering making sure that these challenges will be in the table from day 01. It's not that you start up everything and now in day 100 you end up fighting for these challenges. Why not we make a solution that actually been catering these need from day 01? And number two, how we build up a shared responsibility model, because within the Kubernetes environment, in other cloud environment today, shared responsibility model is hidden. Cloud has created shared responsibility model, but the cloud native, will we do the same thing? I have very high hope for the platform engineering as well. I work with the CNCF for the platform engineering maturity model that recently wrote in 2024, and we've seen active debates around that as well. So I linked some of the paper that CNCF actually published. So we'll look forward to what the people know about what is the actually more interesting piece for them as well. But Taylor, before I leave you off, people who are listening to you, they might be excited because they're looking for the solutions around managed Kubernetes, and they found a TaikunCloud today. So what are the best possible way they can reach out to you, can see a demo, set up on a call, and if they see your solution fits well, how they can become your customers? So tell us, what are the the fastest way to communicate with you?
So, Taikun.cloud, our website is probably the best place to go. You can request a demo, and that will come through to myself, and it's pretty much self-service. So you can just select the date that works for you, and then you can also sign up and get instant access to our platform. We offer a 14-day trial out of the box. Our platform is a completely SaaS-based platform, so it's a sign up, log in, connect your clouds, and start deploying, and start doing some stuff. And then one thing I didn't mention or forgot to mention when we're talking about big announcements in 2025 is that we're going to be releasing shortly a community edition of CloudWorks that's going to be free forever. So we're going to enable users to try CloudWorks out, and not have to worry about trials expiring or anything, but in a similar way to open source products, that they're able to just download it and install it, configure it, and start playing around it and get to know it. Obviously, we're not a download and install product, but we're a SaaS product, so they can just create an account, log in, and start using it. But yeah, it's going to be a free forever tier edition of our product. We're really excited about that. We want to get it into more people's hands, more engineers' hands. And so that's going to be something that we're going to be releasing a bit later this year. And so stay tuned for that.
Very good news. I have to keep looking at this space on the Taikun Cloud. And as soon as I had some news, I will definitely be sharing with a lot of the people who are listening to us right now. And I think it's been, as the year started, we have seen there's enough debate, and rightfully so. And some people treat Kubernetes like hypervisor or hyperscaler. I need an EC2 instance. I don't want to see what behind the scene, nor I am interested in it. With the advent of platform engineering or IDP noise, I certainly believe Kubernetes is in the same direction, but when and you will accept it's still hidden, and companies like TaikunCloud are here to help you out with this kind of experience. Just click on what the resources you need, deploy apps, forget about what's happening behind the scene. I love the investment pouring into these kind of methodologies, but I will looking forward to see what people are having more challenges these days, and what are the different phase, what are the different ways companies can provide to this solution as well. So I'm working on some of the platform engineering series in the nearest future, and I want to hear from the people what will be the most impactful trend in platform engineering in 2025. Will it be the same like 23, 2022, a same Kubernetes abstraction layer and people investing time on invisible in making sure Kubernetes become invisible, or B, a WASM integration come into the play with some of the unique visibility of where containers fall short, WASM can shine the drive, or is it an AI driven operation, or as a D option is cost optimization with internal developer platform. I'll link to those questionnaire with you. I will like to see how people will respond to that as well. But Taylor, I really appreciated your time. I heard ton about Taikun today, and it's been my day 01 of learning about what is the company's motive and what is actually you pouring more investment in going into the 2025. Best wishes to you and your team, and look forward to meeting you again. I will keep you busy this year as the year progress on the things actually being in the horizon. Once again, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Stay safe, everyone. Stay happy, and we will look forward to meeting you again in another episode. Bye bye, everyone.